majority of people will work their lifetime feeling like they walked in their life's purpose because they are doing the thing that they are praised for, that people clap for, that people refer them to, that people talk highly of them about, and they will stop right there. We are back for another episode of Rich in Real Life. And I've never done an episode like this, but I feel like it's totally necessary because I reference and mention a lot of books in every episode that I have read throughout the last year or so on my healing journey, the inner work that I have done, the self-love, the self-healing. And it has been a journey, y'all. If you have gone on this journey with me, you know. But there have been so many, obviously, practitioners, modalities, methodologies that I have leaned into to really do the inner work. But there were a lot of books along the way that helped me personally and professionally. But this will primarily be a conversation about the books personally that helped me, because 2021 was the year that I chose to take my foot off the gas in business for a little bit and focus on myself and some of the things that I knew internally and personally that were roaring, that needed to be visited, connected to, viewed. Because self-love for us really is the journey of learning to love the parts of ourselves that we don't love, that we wish we could actually get rid of, and instead choosing to meet, sit with, and acknowledge those versions of ourselves, those versions of myself were key. And then being able to have the space and the shame-free, or working through letting go of the shame that I had to sit with, and experiencing those sides of myself that I did not like, that did exist, was a journey. I'm going to start with some of my favorite books. That is all this episode is going to be about, is my favorite books. So, book number 1. Actually, it's a book I have on audio, so I don't have it in the physical. It's called Welcome Home by Najwa Zabian. It is literally a book about your soul being your home. This book was a game changer for me, and you've heard me talk about this on several episodes, but it is literally about the concept of how trying to find home in other people is our natural nature. It's what we do. Home being validation, acceptance, understanding, commitment, love, choosing, the idea that we want to be chosen. I heard Tracy Ellis Ross say it the other day in one of the best forms, is that we by nature swim, subscribe to, and desire to be viewed in a way that we are chosen. And this book, Welcome Home, is all about accepting that the home you must build first is your own. That you don't seek home in other people, because if you do, you will always be left homeless. If you create a home within yourself, you won't have that issue. And as I read through that book and I implemented the things that I read, and I understood those practices and met with myself on some of the parts that I did not love, because y'all, the reality is this: we are all guilty of this. We are all guilty of seeking home in other people before we were able to seek home within ourselves. And so listening to this, obviously it hurt a little bit. Obviously, it hurt to acknowledge that no matter how powerful you think you are, how right you think you do things, you have before, like everyone else, seeked validation, acceptance, and love, and the idea of someone choosing you before you could choose yourself, before you even know how to give yourself the love that you are looking for from other people. And so I beg you to go read the book, Welcome Home by Najwa Zabian. It is profound. It's a game changer. So that's book number 1, Welcome Home. Book number 2. These are my 2 audible ones that I don't have in the physical to show you. Y'all, the book, A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. It was a 2.5 hour audible listen. I have listened to it 4 times over in the last year. And all I can say is it reminds me of the book Love Does by Bob Goff. It is reminding you that all we want is love, all we desire is love, all we chase is love, all we should be acting in is love. And when we are acting in anything but love, it is because we are seeking love, protecting ourselves from the idea of love, or running from the idea of the offense against anything but love. Everything we do revolves around love. She goes into everything from the physical. When we don't love ourselves, we gain weight, we cause physical damage, we end up with disease and physical ailments, like how this leads to issues in the physical, how everything we do is rooted in love. And if we could be reminded and get back to that, it is such a soft, sobering, very true concept about just returning to all of our core essence, which is just our desire to be loved and accepted and chosen. And that how, when we can do this for other people first, we will then open up ourselves to the idea of receiving it as well. Because when we can't give it, we can't receive it. When we can't receive it, we can't give it. And we block ourselves from one or the other. A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. It is something I listened to entirely on one walk, one day, in 2 days, in a car ride and a walk. And then I have listened to it 4 times over since then because it is so profound. It just brought me back to my core of what I know we all want and what I know we all want to move in. And that's returning to love. So welcome home, returning to love. And I'm going to get into a few more. So while we're on the topic of love and healing, because I'm going to get into some others that were based in other spaces for me, this book was referred by a friend. It's called All About Loves by Bell Hooks, who's no longer with us. She was an incredible author, creator, profound author. And this book, there was so much to this book, but I just remember reading an excerpt in here about how there are no poems or award-winning pieces written about love by women, that the majority of award-winning pieces, books, and movies written about love were written by men. And the reason is because so many men know what love feels like. They can explain and describe what the feeling of love feels like because they are often on the receiving end from their mothers and their partners. And women are used to the absence of it because they are not given it by their fathers, and they are often chasing it in emotionally unavailable men. Now, that's not to say that stands for everyone, but I remember this being a part of this book that stood out. This book really answered for me the question that everyone has, I think, especially in this generation, of what is love and what does it look like? And what do I want it to look like? And how do I intend to define it? This book was profound. All About Love by Bell Hooks. Here it is. I got to put my cue card down for this one. This is the book that you have probably heard me talk the most about. And I don't know if you can tell by the way in which it is beat the fuck up. This is the book that I have done the most work with. This is the book that set me straight. This is the book that has highlighter, folded pages, bent everything, my penmanship in it. I could never hand this over to anyone. Like, I don't know if you can see where I have written all up in this book. This is the book I refer to everyone. And what I always say is, man, did they underrepresent this book with the title? I'm so glad I was referred this book because I would have never picked it up off the shelf simply for the title, because to women, especially high achieving women and powerful women and women that are doing big things, this, I'm gonna just call it what it is. It seems desperate. It seems desperate. The book is titled Calling in the One, 7 Weeks to Attract the Love of Your Life. Clear away the obstacles that have been holding you back from love, discover the ancient law of attraction, and start creating your best life to bring in your perfect partner. Catherine Woodard Thomas. I'm just going to shout this one out to manifest this one at the top of my lungs. I've reached out to Catherine Woodard Thomas twice for speaking engagements and to have her on the podcast because I could talk for hours, freaking hours, about the revelations that I have had and experienced in this book. But the title underrepresents it. This book has helped me see myself, helped me acknowledge my parental wounds, helped me acknowledge the victimization map in which I view life in, instead of showing up and taking accountability and responsibility, sometimes in the way in which I am avoidant to love or not willing to receive it. This book has short chapters and then workbook sections at the end that will I hate to say this, but bring you to tears in all of the ways necessary. Bring to the surface all of the conversations that you need to have with yourself. This has very little to do with changing yourself for the one, and all the more of accepting where you're at and changing the way in which you see love and changing the way in which you give and receive love and understand your lens, because the lens in which you live your life through matters. And it's typically based on your experiences. That does not necessarily mean it is exact or true. And so doing the work part of this workbook, make sure you get the workbook one. There are other versions that is just a regular book, but the questions at the end of each one of these chapters are profound. And I'm going to say two things out of this book that I remember without even having to skim through it. One was that there is a quote in here that explains that if you are on a healing journey and you are constantly questioning what is the end, what is the outcome, you are doing it all wrong. The journey of healing is simply the concept of surrender. The evolving journey of healing is simply surrender. If you are searching for an outcome, you are doing it all wrong. That one shook me. And then the other part of this, which I found to be true in the last 2 years of my life, was she said, we don't take enough responsibility for our access to friendships, because friendships is our first lesson in true intimacy, in naked, unashamed intimacy. That we are always expecting real, naked, unashamed intimacy with our partners. But our first practice in this is in friendships, because we have deep, intimate friendships before we ever have partnerships. When we're 13, 14, 15, 20, we have deep friendships. And a lot of the things we're looking to experience in partnerships, we can get practice in friendships, and we choose not to. For some reason, we don't glorify friendships. And I've talked about this on the episode that I did with Danielle Bayard Jackson, who is a friendship coach, about how we don't realize that all the things that we are craving as an outcome of intimacy are things that we can get and practice in real time, in real love, in friendship. Because friendship is a practice of intimacy that you are looking to fill a gap or provide in everything but the physical. And if we're honest, there's even physical. I enjoy physical touch with my friends. I enjoy deep, long hugs. Like I enjoy being consoled by my female friends. But like outside of the physical, there is an opportunity for deep, fulfilling intimacy and practice of that in friendships. And she talks about this in this book. So this book has been a true mirror for me in every way of the word. This is one I'm going to say, if you are on a healing journey, if you are searching for self, if you are dealing with a breakup, if you are looking to see why you are in the patterns, a holding pattern that you are in, that seems like you are dating the same people over and over again, this is the book. Don't let the title fool you. Calling in the One, the workbook. Okay. So now that we have gotten past that, I have 3 others that I want to mention to you. And they were very particular to my personal experience. And so I want to be mindful that this may not be what you are going through right now or you are dealing with, but they were very helpful to me. And so I'm going to start with this one. The best book I read in 2021, when I was at the pinnacle of starting a business, making my first 6 figures, like barely, like I think I made 98,000. And I was like, that wasn't enough to replace my salary. It was the first 2 years out of my corporate role. I went from making 70,000 a year to making 98,000, like my first year and a half. And everybody was like, woohoo. No, that was revenue. That was revenue. That was not paid out money. That was not anything, because I was spending so much money trying to maintain the business that I was like, okay, I made 40,000. Holy shit. Like, am I even doing this? Do I need to go back to the corporate job? I think I've told the story about crying in my best friend's living room after I ran my numbers after the first year and a half. And I was like, this shit ain't for me. I cannot do it. And a mentor at the time, which is funny, when you're in dire straits and you are stressed and you don't know, you are in the middle of a panic because you don't know what you're going to do. When someone tells you to read a book, it's like, you got to be fucking kidding me. You want me to read a book when I don't know what my next step is? But I will tell you, this book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, changed my life. This changed the way I do business. And it's not even necessarily a business book. there's not anything crazy detailed about how you operate in your business. But what I will tell you is what is unforgettable about this book that I will repeat for the rest of my life. There's a list of fears that we all have that are specific to us as to why we don't go to the next level. It was something along mine as like piercing the veil. It said, I have this fear that at some point in my journey, someone's going to like peel back the curtain and be like, hey, you're not that good. Hey, you're not everything that you say you are. Actually, I can see the holes. I can see the cracks. No one can, but I'm going to point them out. You're not that great. Like that I have this fear that someone's going to pull the curtain back and be like, ma'am, you are not who you say you are, even though I am. And we are all imperfect beings. But I am doing the work constantly to be a better business owner, a better human, a better mom, a better everything. But I have this fear that at some point someone's going to pull back the curtain's going to fall. And it's like, I've got this 9-foot shadow, but she's only 5 foot tall. She's not who she says she is. And so it lists all these fears. So identifying and acknowledging the fear I had was big. Second, knowing the difference between your zone of excellence and your zone of genius was insane for me. It goes over the 4 zones that majority of us operate in. And I just remember it talking about, I was reading the zone of excellence and I was like, yep, that's me. It was like majority of people will work their lifetime feeling like they walked in their life's purpose because they are doing the thing that they are praised for, that people clap for, that people refer them to, that people talk highly of them about, and they will stop right there because it's the thing that like fills their ego, fills their cup. People point out all the time and they're like, yep, that's me. That thing is assigned to me. That's my identity. That's what I'm good at. That's me. And I'm sure you can resonate with this. Like whether you are a connector, you're a people person, you connect the dots, you advocate for certain people, you change systems, whatever that thing is that you are known for, you have allowed it to become your identity. He said most people stop there. Very few people will ever get to their zone of genius. And your zone of genius is different. Your zone of genius is something that you will do naturally, but will come off effortlessly. You will be effortlessly top rated, undefeatable, unforgettable in it. And it will feel like you're not even doing work. You will do it and people will be like, oh my God, you are so good at that. And you are actually, in fact, better than everyone else. How? And you'll be like, I'm just being myself. I'm just doing something that I know how to do. For me, for a while, a reality of that was learning that podcasting is not my zone of genius. It is my zone of excellence. It is the thing that I have learned how to use as a vehicle, that I have gotten praise for, that I've gotten acknowledged for, that I've gotten awarded for. But the reality is it's simply a vehicle. My zone of genius is helping people identify and stand in their voice and standing in mine first so that I can lead by example. So what I noticed that was effortless for me was the women's event we used to host called Innovative Income. Standing in my voice was very natural for me. Yet simply being myself, even though it was hard to put on the event, people would be like, oh my God, this is so great. And I'm like, this is just me standing up here being me. But when I realized my gift was to lead by example and using my voice, same way I do on this podcast, is what inspires other people to use theirs. That is my zone of genius. It is something I will do late nights on the couch with my good friends. It's something that I will do with family members, friends, my son. It is something I will do for the rest of my life without getting paid because it comes so naturally to me, because it freaking matters. It is a passion of mine. It is me at my core. It is what I care about immensely. That is my zone of genius. And so everyone I know that I've referred this book to said it was a freaking game changer. The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Check it out. So I have 2 more. This one will be short. This one was specific to my circumstance. When I went on my healing journey, there were times where I'm just going to say the statement that I have repeated over and over that is the only way I can explain what I felt for 2 years. People would always be like, you know how people say you know better, so you should do better? I would always be like, I know better, and I can do better, but I don't feel better. I don't feel better. The weight of the anger that I am constantly suppressing is top fucking tier. And I keep finding myself in situations where I suppress to be the better person. And then I find myself exploding with anger. I'm dancing with anger constantly. So someone referred me this book, Forgiving What You Can't Forget. And I don't know if you ever are aware with Lisa Turk. I can never say her last name, Lisa Turkhurst. And if I said her name wrong, I apologize. Her work, she has several books. This book was a game changer for me because it rode passenger to the work I had to do in EMDR and hypnotherapy, and acknowledging that my constant dance, having grace to acknowledge that I was dealing with a constant dance with anger. And that this book talks about, if you don't go back and acknowledge each one of these things, you have all of your circumstance picketing. I talked about this, like going on a forgiveness journey with yourself and other people, because you have all of these voices in your body picketing for forgiveness of, like, you know how people have to take credit for their disadvantage? Like, you know, if you put a bunch of people around a circle and they'll start be like, oh, yo, my life is so bad. All these bad things are happening. And it's like a story erupts in the circle of everyone trying to picket for their disadvantage being worse. Like, I'm going to win this complain fest. No, my life is worse. This week, this what happened. No, that I hear you, but let me tell you what happened to me. My shit is bad. You have no idea. And it's like we're picketing for who's got it the worst. And to read this book and acknowledge that there are all of the stories and circumstance in our body that we have suppressed for the anger that we weren't willing to deal with based off trying to be the better person or continue to function or parent while our world is falling apart. Did all these things land in our body somewhere? And then when we start this forgiveness journey, they're all picketing to be forgiven. So there are all these stories in our body that are like, okay, well, you forgave that, but this is also important. Like, they are all picketing for justice in your body. And this is why you explode on a coworker or a partner or someone else over the dishes not being washed, because you have all these stories internally that are picketing for justice. They're like, pick me, forgive me, express me, release me, remove me. I'm laying dormant in your body. And how the shame we deal with for feeling these feelings blocks all energy of receiving. So the shame we're dealing with blocks everything. And so the forgiveness not only includes all the circumstances that are laying dormant in your body, but it also is forgiveness for yourself, for the shame that you feel for still feeling this way. So I'll leave you with this. A practitioner I work with simply said, when you are dealing with healing of things like that are unexpected, you are constantly on a journey of continuing to let go over and over and over again. And so this book was a game changer for me, Forgiving What You Can't Forget. So my last book and my absolute favorite, I will refer this book to everyone. I don't even know how to put words to why this book is so beautiful to me, but it is called The Game of Life and How to Play It, the self-help classic. This book covers everything from manifestation to very important pieces from the Bible and ties it all together on how we are the key player in this game of life. Like this, if you were going to start anywhere, this is the book. Like, one of the key things that's coming to my mind right now about this book is always saying that you are in control, and at any given time, you can cast your burdens and doubt onto God so that you can be free and have plenty. And so on a daily, when I am overwhelmed and I am stressed, I'm like, God, I cast all of my burdens, doubt, and fear onto you so that I can be free and I can have plenty. This is all about your belief, the way you live your life, the way you use your tongue, the words that come out of your mouth, like that we are the creators of our desires, and we are also the creators of our mess. And I'm going to end with one more book that I don't have in my arsenal physically. Definitely don't think I have it, but it was a game changer for me. And I might get in trouble for talking about it. But it is a book by Napoleon Hill that's often never referenced, and it's called Outwitting the Devil. Outwitting the Devil. And one of the things about it that was mind-blowing for me, and it's a very interesting concept. You may not be ready for this read, but it is all about Napoleon Hill interviewing the devil. And he explains how the devil is explaining to him how we are so obsessed with thinking that when bad things are happening, that is the devil at work. That is the devil. And we say, boy, that's the devil. And the devil is saying, listen, I'm really good at giving people what they want so that I can distract them from believing that there is a God. So I give them everything they want, the money, the cars, the clothes, the women. I give them all of their greatest dreams so they can be like, I'm the one. So the idea is to get them to be individualistic and to believe that they have their own power, that they can do everything that they want on their own. And when I get them to believe that, they drift and I have them. And then he also talks about how easy it is to cast all of that by constantly announcing that you are protected by God. And so I'm not going to get into a religious conversation, but I think this book is very true. I think we live in a society right now where a lot of people are being given a lot of things and they are proclaiming that to be God's blessings and God's work. And I think a lot of us know that that is not, while those things are nice and we do deserve them, that is not what God had planned for us. I think what God has conceptualized for us is way bigger than cars, clothes, and significant others. I think it's a lot more than that. And so being clear on your discernment and distractions, I think that book is worth a read. So very different than anything I've ever done. I really hope this was helpful for you. I get asked this all the time. And so we're going to link every single book down in the show notes for you. If you want the books that have been a game changer for me over the last 2 years, those are mostly all of them. There's quite a few more. I'm thinking of A Company of One, The Elimination of Hurry, or something like that. There's been a few that The Power of Now, great book. But we're going to link my faves down in the show notes. And I hope these are as helpful for you and your journey, both personally and professionally, as they were for me. Sending you guys so much love.